the lead on that. But before we introduce him formally, I would like to give you a little bit about his background. He goes by Reverend Joe or Yussi Hakan of the Red Judaism channel. So he has his own channel, by the way, Red Judaism, that many of you can, I encourage you to subscribe to it and also go and watch the things that he has done. He has a D.Dev, or I would call it Doctor of Divinity, and teacher of Hebrew religion, was awarded a full scholarship by the former director of Cambridge University's Wolf Institute of Abrahamic Faith. The name of that gentleman is Dawood Bone, who was the director of the Center for the Study of Muslim-Jewish Relations, and sponsored by the late Chief Rabbi of the UK, Lord Jonathan Sacks, and His Royal Highness Prince Hussein of Jordan. He is a Sabbath Jew who came to a belief in Jesus as the ultimate Messiah of Judaism while studying the origins of the Quran. And he is going to introduce us to Judaic, Noahites, Umayyad narrative, and I'll let him, of course, elaborate on that, to counter the outside standard Islamic narrative known as sin, the one that we've been talking about for a while. And I just want to make sure everybody is aware the channel and our brother here are actually working towards protecting against anti-Semitic. So we hope that everyone will also respect that. And we're not here to bash anyone. We're not here to attack or insult anyone. And we are here actually to help everyone, including our Muslim friends, to gain a better understanding of the many unanswered questions related to the early history of Islam. With that in mind, I want to welcome you, brother, and I want to turn this over to you. If you feel like you want to add any more to your bio and background that I may have skipped, please do so, and then walk us through the presentation.
Shalom, Al-Fahdi. Thank you so much for having me on the show tonight, and thank you for the introduction as well. So yes, I'm going to be introducing an alternative, a competing narrative. And this narrative is a forbidden Hebrew Christian history. I'm calling it a forbidden Hebrew Christian history because although so much has been written about this for so many centuries, for some reason it's still sidelined and dismissed and not really looked at. But this is really, there is really only two major sort of competitors in the front line for the limelight when it comes to the Quran's origins. One is the standard Islamic narrative, and the other is a sort of a Hebrew Christian origin or a Jewish Christian origin for Islam, which most people might not be aware of if they haven't been introduced to this through specialist educational programs or degree or some kind of instruction on the matter. But there are plenty of books. One which most people would be aware of is Patricia Crone and Michael Cook's Hagarism, The Making of the Islamic World, which was dismissed when it came out because it was such a shocking sort of counter to the standard Islamic narrative that it was just, the world was just not ready for that. But meanwhile, plenty of people have been writing other things as well. For example, we've got hundreds of years beforehand, this is Abraham Giger, the founder of Reform Judaism, wrote a book called Judaism. Well, it's actually a prize essay. He wrote this Judaism in Islam, which you can see on the right there. And another example is the Jewish Christianity and the Origins of Islam, which it's from the French school, and that's the picture there on the front is the Birmingham manuscript there. So,
right.
Yeah.
So let's start by asking this question. Why did you call it the forbidden history of the Messianic Judaism or the haram Hebrew Christian history?
Yes, because despite so much being written about it, I think a lot of people are not aware of it unless they've been to some specialist courses, postgraduate courses, studying the matter. So that's the strange thing about it. I mean, people have probably listened to, they've listened to a lot of people speaking on the origins of Islam and the Quran so far. But there are a few things which make people dismiss this immediately. For example, the Quran looks very anti-Semitic. The Islamic Quran looks very anti-Semitic. and it looks very anti-Christian. So how can it be Hebrew and Christian? Well, that's what I'm going to try and explain in today's show. So I think I'm probably the closest, by the way, to the other side that there's been on this show so far. But despite that, I just want everybody to know that I'm still a very fanatical defender of the Bible, and I have no time for its enemies. And although I'm also critical of bigotry from various unqualified critics of Islam, I do nevertheless support a very harsh and much needed criticism of the Abbasids' standard Islamic narrative, the sin, which is not only immoral, but also obviously untrustworthy. Hence, I myself have been working on the Judaic Noahite Umayyad narrative, the Nun, and I've put the little Arabic letter there, Nun, for the Nazarene. The only solution for sin is the Nazarene. So I've been working on this Judaic Noahite Umayyad narrative ever since I first read that book, Hagarism, back in 1996, and subsequently became aware of centuries of works by religious Jews, which make more sense of the Hagarism book. But even many mainstream scholars like Peter von Sivers of Utah University, Fred Donner of Chicago University are now opening up about the stark mismatch between the standard Islamic narrative and the archaeological evidence, which even Crone and Crook, the authors of Hagarism, avoided in their book. Fred Donner also implies, in fact, that we have to be ready to discard up to a fifth of what the Abbasids have told us. Can you imagine that? If you look at imagine an Islamic library and just imagine throwing out a fifth of it, that's an awful lot of narrative. Naturally, I can't summarize the volumes of the details that I've examined on all of my deep dives since 1996, which is more than I can remember anyway. But I'm going to present here an introduction to this Nun, this Noahite Umayyad narrative. So get your pens and notepads ready to write down your questions about any points you think that I need to explain. And then if I'm granted the chance to answer them, God willing, I'll go into detail on such points later on. So I think the first thing we have to look at is, what is a Noahite? Noahites are Gentiles who are called by God's name to practice the oldest level of Judaism called Derech Eretz in Judaism, which preceded the Torah for 26 generations, according to Judaic teachings. This level of Judaism consists of the sevenfold covenant of Noah. This is the Judaism of Abraham, which was advocated by St. Paul and the apostles, i.e., for the Gentiles who keep God's name, no idolatry, no adultery, no trafe, no bloodshed, attend the synagogues, and that's in Acts 15, verses 17 to 21. And there was, of course, no need to emphasize no theft in Roman society, since they used to crucify thieves. Everybody knew that was wrong, but that's the seventh law, theft, no theft. It's even in the Quran in chapter 42, verse 13, and it's called the Sharia of Noah. It is not a different or new religion, but it's an integral part of Judaism, especially for uncircumcised believers who are practicing Judaism. So Noahites are also